Hey, everybody, I'm Hillary Atkin from the Atkin Report, and I'm excited to welcome Vir Srinivas, writer, producer, and director of the feature film Orders from Above, to this edition of Hillary's Happy Hour. Vir, how are you doing?
Good, thanks, Hillary. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. Holocaust films are a genre in and of itself, but this one tells of a very specific incident 15 years after the end of World War II. How did you come to the real life story of the interrogation of Adolf Eichmann after he was captured and in Israeli custody?
Well, it started more from my restrictions than an idea. I was in film school and I had no money, no access to fancy equipment, and I wanted to make a feature film. So I thought I would only have one or two locations, a few actors, and then I began to think, what could I create in that space? I'm a fan of history and crime, and so I was aware of Adolf Eichmann's trial and his interrogation by the Israeli police, and I read his transcripts. And they're quite fascinating because you see a man who was not really anti-Semitic. He was more a bureaucrat and concerned with status, with getting promoted, not any ideology.
Why do you think that Eichmann, who's known as the mastermind of the Holocaust, never acknowledged its unspeakable horrors and instead kept blaming, quote, orders from above, unquote, for the atrocities of sending millions of Jews to their deaths?
And when I give him documentary proof, well, he starts blaming others. Subordinates, superiors, failing that, he just says, I was following orders.
I never killed any Jews. And for that matter, I never killed any non-Jews.
That is a hard question. I personally think that, well, it's tough. He, on the one hand, he was not personally invested in the Holocaust itself. But on the other hand, he did his best to make it the most efficient machine that it could be. He transported many Jews across trains and organized these logistics for it. And he was, of course, he was aware of what was going on. But I think it's very difficult for anybody to accept that they were part of what happened there. Any person involved in that, any guard or even any politician would just say that it wasn't my fault. I was acting upon orders.
That's exactly what he kept saying over and over again. But talk to us about the real life character of Police Captain Alfred Less, the one who interrogated him as portrayed in your film, and how this experience impacted him.
I am Captain Less. I am told that you are willing, eager, in fact, to tell of your role in the Third Reich.
Yeah, well, not much is really known about Avner Less. From what I read, he grew up in Germany, and then he moved to Israel when he was a young adult. And his father was deported. In the film, you see this as well. His father was deported by Eichmann's organization. And so, while I don't know this for sure, but he must have had some personal interest in proving Eichmann guilty.
One of the greatest spy stories in modern history is the Mossad's capture of Eichmann in Buenos Aires when he was hiding out after the war, and then his eventual trial and execution in Israel.
Yeah, I agree. Mossad is very respected in the spy community, especially for this. He was hiding for 15 years in Argentina, working, I think, for Mercedes-Benz. And he was finally found when I think one of his sons or something revealed it to a girlfriend or something like that. And then he was brought back to Israel. And after his interrogation and after his trial, he was the only person to be executed by the Israelis.
Getting back to your film, you've received some excellent reviews and acclaim for it, but what would you like audiences to take away from it?
I'd like them to understand the kind of constraints I had, what budget I was working with, and with that, I think they would have a greater appreciation of the film. To understand that I was a student and these were actors that were working for free. Everybody was working for free just on, pizza and whatever food we could get. And I think you should learn a bit about Eichmann to fully appreciate the film.
Well, Vir, I want to wrap up our happy hour with a toast to you and your success with Orders from Above, which is now streaming on iTunes and Amazon Prime.
Yeah. You can find out wherever else it's streaming, Vudu, Vimeo, on my website, virsrinivas.com.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Cheers.